The problem with PSYOPs and propaganda is that eventually misinformation withers and all but dies in the face of hard evidence of the truth, becoming the realm of only the most gullible and the most eager to self-deceive. This isn't to imply that misinformation isn't a problem, but it is to say that it crescendos and peaks, and its effectiveness starts to backslide and dissipate. Misinformation doesn't have staying power. This is a good thing for Cardano because every time we put on one of these massive ghost parades like we just had in Austin, the rumor campaigns against us slip further and further past the peak and down the curve toward the land of the forgotten and disproved. Ready?
יאללה, נצא לדרך.
Today, we are going to discuss the recent Cardano event at Consensys, the unveiling of IOG's new light wallet, Dish launching a big new project on Cardano, Charles's Fireside chat at DcentralCon, and the launch of proof of stake on the testnet of a big competitor. If you saw this thumbnail and immediately noticed that it is literally a ghost chain and not really a ghost parade at all, or if you're finding value in these videos each weekday, please consider delegating to the Army of Spies stake pool, ticker AOS. Here you have it. This is the Cardano ecosystem event at the Consensys conference. You're probably aware that Consensys is largely an Ethereum conference, and it turns out the Cardano ghost chain is full of throngs of human beings who are willing to show up to an Ethereum conference in Austin, Texas, just so they can be around a bunch of other Cardano people. According to this post by SpaceApe, even the line to get into the event was massive. And you can't really tell from this picture, but it looks like quite a few people were all queued up to get into the Cardano event. It looks like a lot of the IOG people were wearing these shirts here sported by Tim Harrison that had the logos of 80 different projects on Cardano. I think this is an important statement to make at Consensys to let people know, hey, this isn't a list of ghost projects. Here are a bunch of actual projects that you can find on Cardano right now. And in other events around Consensys, people were repeating the fact that Cardano had something like 100 projects already on the blockchain, ready to be used, and another 1,000 in the pipeline being built right now. I think in Cardano, we could come up with probably a list of projects that are out there right now that's a little bit longer than 100, and maybe even a list of things in the pipeline that's longer than 1,000. But these kind of nice, big, round numbers are good for people to get their heads around. When Tim Harrison can walk around with a T-shirt and show people, here's 80 projects that are on the chain right now, that's an important statement to make when the rest of the space is still suffering from this information asymmetry, when they've been fed this news that Cardano is a ghost chain and somehow miraculously it's maintained this super high spot among all of the blockchains. But it turns out that Cardano wasn't just at Consensys to boast about having humans. They had some real news announcements to drop on everybody as well. One of them was this. They're finally unveiling the big IOG light wallet. We've been waiting for this for a long time. They talked about this. There was a big video presentation at the Cardano Summit 2021. I think at the time they were calling the light wallet project Project One or something like that. And they had some cool videos about it. But now we're seeing an actual website for what it looks like is named Lace. It looks like the IOG light wallet will be called Lace. And you can see here, it has a heavy utility for NFTs, as I think any modern, Web3 light wallet is going to need to have. You can see some Cardano Summit 2021 NFTs here, some Liquid Aqua Farmers, some Hosky NFTs. And this website is really just sort of a mailing list sign up page. So you can register with your email address, throw your email address in here, click the button. You don't have to do anything else. They'll start sending you information about the light wallet. And one of the big questions people were asking today, or that I saw people asking at least, was, is this going to be the Mithril light wallet? We've talked about this a million times on this channel, but if this is the Mithril light wallet, then this will be the trustless light wallet, where you don't have to just trust someone to be hosting an accurate version of the ledger on some server somewhere that the wallet is referencing. You can, through the magic of cryptography via Mithril, you can be trustlessly ensured that the version of the blockchain that the light wallet is referencing is in fact the accurate one. In other news that's also been in the making since the Cardano Summit 2021, you'll remember that that's when we found out there was some kind of a deal between Cardano and the Dish network. And this was really interesting because the Dish network controls the Boost mobile network. That means a lot of consumers out there with mobile phone handsets, and those handsets could have a lot of things on them since Cardano is largely a network made up of software. There's a lot of cool software you could put on those phones for the users of the Boost network to use Cardano. So now we find out the first project between Dish and Cardano. So this is going to be a combination of a loyalty coin and decentralized identification on the Boost network. It turns out they're going to use Atala to create decentralized identification for their customers. Then they're going to have this Boost coin, which is going to be a ledger-based loyalty token for these customers. And they've got a ton of information. It's actually kind of a slightly complicated system where they're going to be minting and burning these loyalty tokens, and you're going to have a certain number of tokens in circulation, and Boost is going to maintain a wallet where certain things are going to happen to the coin, and all the details are in this blog entry right here. If you are a Boost customer and deeply interested in what this is going to look like, you can find all of the details in this article from Input Output right here. Of course, what we really want is for this news item right here to be that Boost is going to pre-install the Lace wallet on every single one of its cell phones, but it's a little bit early for that. This is actually a good start. I think loyalty tokens and DIDs for the customers is a great and logical place for a cell phone company, a mobile network provider, to start and then work their way into the whole pre-installed software thing down the road. Charles also did a fireside chat at DcentralCon. I love these kinds of events because I think Charles knows that he's addressing a much broader crypto audience. He's not just talking to his normal Cardano AMA audience, he's talking to a much broader audience, and he gets into different topics. He talks about slightly different things to this type of audience than he does just to the Cardano audience, or at least he goes in different directions on the same kinds of topics because it's a different audience. And we always get sort of an interesting take on things in these kind of presentations. So Charles talked more about how the lack of a definition for decentralization would lead to the SEC once again being able to exercise case-by-case discretion over each crypto project as to when reporting requirements would end for ancillary assets under the Lummis-Gillibrand bill. So we won't go into much more detail. We covered the Lummis-Gillibrand bill in that gigantic video. I think we did a sufficient deep dive on that, so we won't go into more detail there. But I thought it was interesting. He's pointing out something that is apparent in the bill, but not a lot of people have talked about, and that's that the projects whose assets get categorized as ancillary assets, if the sorting hat puts them into this ancillary asset category, because we don't have a decent definition of decentralization, there's going to be a lot of discretion still in the SEC, who's going to be the one determining whether or not those certificates filed for termination of the periodic reporting requirements, should be accepted. Whether those certificates should be accepted to terminate those requirements. Because we don't have this definition of decentralization, we're back in the same exact spot. The SEC deciding who they want to let pass, then becoming the gatekeeper of exiting these periodic reporting requirements. This is not good. He talked a little bit about the decentralization index. I think this is great. I can't wait to see this index. I'm curious how they're going to, because Cardano is kind of sponsoring the creation of this index. I'm sure there will be some accusations of bias, no matter how unbiased the index actually is. I'm sure people will, if Cardano is featured very highly at all, which I think it will be, I think we're going to score pretty high on the decentralization marks in any kind of like balanced and fair decentralization index you create, just because our minimum attack vector is so much higher than Bitcoin and Ethereum, like we covered in the video the other day. But I think no matter what, because Cardano is going to score high, there are going to be a lot of accusations of bias because Cardano helped to establish the index. We'll see how that turns out. Charles thinks the House of Representatives is going to become a lot more red in November. And this type of comprehensive crypto regulation framework will have the best chance of passing next year. I think that's fair to say. I think it definitely is looking like we might have a change in a lot of seats in the House, and that'll probably make it easier for this type of bill to pass. We'll see how that goes. He also said he doesn't think Ethereum proof of stake will be fully operational until deep into 2023, maybe 2024. And this was kind of one of the most sensational moments of this fireside chat. I think a lot of people are going to pick up that particular soundbite and make a lot of hay. There's going to be a lot of talk about that particular piece, but he actually went into a lot of detail on this particular topic. He mentioned how difficult it'll be for Ethereum to figure out how to achieve sharding and parallelization of the network given their global state. We've talked about this before many times. Cardano's EUTXO model basically has sharding built right in, or at least the capability for easier sharding because of our local state. Much easier to shard an EUTXO type system than an account balance system like Ethereum. We've got global state. How do you compartmentalize everything? How do you shard the network if everything depends on global state? If everything depends on everything, how do you compartmentalize things into smaller packets? He also mentioned that there's a really long tail on like the last 15% of designing a proof of stake network. So, of course, Cardano would know about this because over the last, since 2016 or something, they've gone through this process of pretty much doing nothing but designing a proof of stake network. He said in that last 15%, you can kind of run into big trouble if you haven't designed the consensus mechanism and the network protocol together simultaneously at the same time. If you're trying to do what Ethereum's doing, you've got everything else in place, and then you just try to change the consensus mechanism and slap that on as another layer on the onion without having designed all the layers together, you might run into some big problems. He said, it looks like you have it. It looks like everything's fine. And then suddenly everything falls apart and you don't know how to reassemble it. Earlier in the talk, he had also jokingly referenced a competitor chain experiencing testnet failures. And it was pretty obvious, at least to me, that he was talking about the 7-block reorg on Ethereum testnet that we covered in these videos previously. Charles indicated that it's going to be really hard for Ethereum to solve all this. And that's why Ethereum has invested so much in layer 2 solutions and things like Starkware to hedge their bets. He said it was kind of like a halfway house solution because it's going to be so difficult for them to solve everything together. He also has a view that they didn't need to go in this direction. He pointed out Ethereum 1.5 already exists. It's called Polkadot. Gavin Wood already, of course, borrowed Cardano's Ouroboros and turned it into Polkadot. They could have just done what Polkadot did. They could have gone in that direction and they wouldn't have to be going through all the trouble they're going through right now. He said they could have also gone in the direction of the research that was happening at Cornell. Instead, they're going in the direction they're in right now, and Charles thinks this is going to be very difficult. This reminded me a lot of those interviews where Elon Musk was always being asked about the Ford and Amazon funded competitor in Rivian. And he always had this response that was kind of like, well, it's really easy to create a prototype, but this car manufacturing thing, figuring out how to efficiently do automotive manufacturing is exponentially harder than just creating a prototype. So we'll see how they do on the actual manufacturing thing that we've already, just spent like the last decade mastering. We'll see if they can just miraculously, ship a solution to automobile manufacturing because that part is actually pretty hard. It seemed like Charles is in the same position. He's just gone through the whole process from start to finish of designing a network and a consensus network protocol and a consensus mechanism together from the ground up. He knows exactly how hard it is. And he's like, we'll see. It's a lot harder than it looks. And I think he knows what kind of problems even lie ahead for Ethereum, even though the general consensus is that they're months away from shipping Ethereum proof of stake in the merge. Charles is implying that there may still be that 15% left. That is this very long-tailed thing that actually takes, in a lot of cases, years, because you run into so many problems just buttoning up that last little bit of proof of stake. Speaking of Ethereum proof of stake, we can now congratulate Ethereum. They have moved to proof of stake on their Ropsten testnet. Here's the post from Tim Bako. We have some transactions included in post-merge Ropsten blocks. You know, the merge is the sort of code name. They've got all the rhyming code names for different eras, different things happening in Ethereum. The verge, the merge, the splurge. Somebody joked in the comments the other day to either one of these videos or maybe the Twitter post of one of these videos, that next they'll have to include the concierge, the verge, the splurge, and the concierge. But this is the merge, and they are now post merge on their Ropsten testnet. We had this post come out from Tim Bako, and it was not immediately, but subsequently followed by this post. We do have some missing block proposals, which was a known issue before. We're going to dig into it, and we will update you this Friday. So Ethereum had the testnet 7-block reorg already. Everybody saw that. People, it somehow only seems like it's only coming to light. I'm seeing people talking about this on podcasts and those little sound bites popping up just today. People are feeling a sense of alarm. They're like, wait a second, 7-block reorg. That's pretty serious. And we're supposed to be just like months away from launching this on mainnet. You shouldn't be having 7-block reorgs if you're just months away from launch on mainnet. And here we see they launch on the Ropsten testnet, and just a little while after launch, we do have some missing block proposals. So, I mean, just looking in from the outside, of course, it's hard to tell what's actually going on, but we do see a lot of little indications that everything is not perfect. Things aren't quite so smooth. It looks like Charles's appraisal of what's going on in Ethereum right now might not be too far off the mark. But I hope you are having a great week. Don't forget, we're going to miss a few videos next week because I will be traveling back from continent number 2, where my time is now ending, and I will be going back to continent number 1. So we'll probably miss some videos, maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Not sure. We'll see exactly which days we miss, but I'll be back soon. I hope you have had a great week. I hope you're going to have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you very, very soon.